Hi, it's Jack, and this is the podcast version of this episode. If you want to read the words as they're being analysed, then if you're on Spotify, you can become a subscriber of this channel or head over to the YouTube channel. And on both platforms, you can also sign up to get exclusive episodes and early access to the regular weekly episodes too. The way we feel about someone can often be uncovered by looking at the words we use to refer to them. So what do you think it means when Chris Watt's girlfriend refers to his recently murdered wife Shanann as that woman?
Love does not murder. Hate and resentment murder. And I don't have all of the details, but this is just my opinion, but I'm pretty convinced that woman and him did not get along very well.
Let's get further into Nichol Kessinger's police interview and ask what's inside her very curious answers. Welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. What I do here is different from anywhere else. I strip away everything apart from the words that are said, and then I use my process of statement investigation to give you the key to seeing where deception could be, where the truth could lie, and also the motivations of a person. It's a process I use with investigators, with the media, and corporate clients to get a deep understanding of what is really being said. So let's take a look at the case again. And it's my second look at Nichol Kessinger's words. I would check out the first one before you have a look at this one. But look, in August 2018, Chris Watts murdered his wife Shanann and his two children, Bella and Celeste. He had a mistress at the time, Nichol Kessinger, and we're going to look at her again, speaking to the police. It's just 3 days after Chris killed his wife and kids, and it's a day after Chris confessed. We want to look at this and say, what did she know? Now, having a look at the first part of what Nichol had to say in this police interview, the big theme I got from her was avoidance, pushing things away. So she was avoiding talking about the depth of the relationship. She wanted it to sound like, hey, it's just a casual thing, we were just talking. And any details close to the killings, when she was asked about things on the weekend before the killings happened, she went far away from that and talked about anything else but what her and Chris spoke about the day before he murdered Shanann, Bella and Celeste. So let's get back into this police interview room and listen to Nichol Kessinger.
You talked to him for a few hours on Sunday.
Did I? Are you asking me or are you telling me?
I'm asking you.
Oh, I was like, I don't even know. Someday, honestly, so wait a minute. That was Saturday. We're talking about Saturday. We're not talking about Sunday right now.
Okay, so you're still on Saturday.
Yes.
You guys have a phone conversation when he gets home?
That was the day that he got the babysitter and I went out to dinner, not Sunday.
Okay,
sorry, I just want to make sure
That's
you
okay.
got your
Yep.
days right. So Saturday, yes, we went out, he had the babysitter, he went home. I'm sure we did. We always talk on the phone. And honestly, I mean, Mark asked me that the other day. He's like, how long are you on the phone? 15 minutes, 20 minutes? Like, you're going to have to look at the records, to be honest with you. So much.
Right, really curious there, and just more avoidance and also a look of control about this too. The detective says you talked to him for a few hours on Sunday, and Nichol says, did I? Are you asking me or are you telling me? Now that is very curious. What we've got there is a question to a question. You talked to him for a few hours on Sunday. Are you asking me or are you telling me? A question to a question quite often gives the person talking time to compose the answer they want to think about. If we are in really carefully choosing our words mode, then the words don't come quickly. We want to look around in our head and go, what are the right words to use here? No, that's the wrong ones. I'll use this one instead. So it's often helpful to us to think about the words deeper, and to get that time to do that thinking is to ask a question to a question, to pretend we're looking for clarification sometimes when really what we just want is time. Did I? Are you asking me or are you telling me? The detective says, I'm asking you. And then she goes quite stuttery. Oh, I was like, I don't even know. Sunday? Honestly? So wait a minute. That was Saturday. We're talking about Saturday. We're not talking about Sunday right now. So in there we have all that stutter, a little bit of stress. Again, probably the thinking process. What is it that I want to say? What are the words I want to use here? Now, why is she thinking about what she's saying carefully? Well, listen, I've said before, she's under stress here. If she's an innocent person, she's under a lot of stress because she really is very important in her life to get across her innocence. If she's not so innocent, if she has guilty knowledge or was even further involved, she's also under stress because she's got a story to sell and she wants to make sure that story gets across properly because it's a big deal to her. So we've got a lot of stress, a lot of picking the words carefully, a lot of saying something and then sort of pulling out of it as well. Oh, I was like, I don't even know, Sunday. Then she says, honestly. Now, Nichol has done this a few times and she's used words like honestly, and she's flagging up her honesty here. Why is she doing that? Why is she flagging up the honestly here? Is this to say, listen to this is what I really, really want you to believe. It's very important for me that you believe this. Or is it not true? And so she's putting that big flag there saying, this is honest, you should believe this. What I do get, though, is control. Wait a minute. That's a phrase of control. Wait a minute. So she feels like she has some control here over what is being spoken about. That was Saturday. We're talking about Saturday. We're not talking about Sunday right now. So she's asked a question about Sunday. Now, Sunday is the day that Shanann came back and the murders happened either like Sunday night, early Sunday morning. She is much more comfortable sticking with Saturday. I've seen this in part one when we looked at this. The closer she gets to the time of the murders, the less comfortable she is talking about what happened between her and Chris. And here, the detective wants to move on to Sunday, but Shanann is keeping control here and saying, I want to talk about this Saturday. So the detective says, okay, so you're still on Saturday. She says, yes. The detective asks, you guys have a phone conversation when he gets home? And she says, that was the day he got the babysitter. And I went out on Sunday. I went out to dinner, not Sunday. Okay, sorry. I just want to make sure you got your dates right. So Saturday, yes, we went out. He had the babysitter. Now, this is again control. She's making sure that they have everything straight. And what I do notice again, and it's a theme in Nichol, is ensuring that the dates are right, or saying, I don't have the exact date, but here she really wants to ensure that the guys have the dates right. Now, listen, if nothing bad was happening, why would it be so important to have the dates right? Why not just converse about the conversations they had if nothing bad was going on there? It's a question. It's not a conclusion there. But she wants to make sure that these guys have their dates right. Again, more control from her there. He went home. I'm sure we did, and I'm sure that means I'm sure we did is talking about talking on the phone. We always talk on the phone, and honestly, I mean, Mark asked me that the other day. So we always talk on the phone. So she's talking in general now. She's not saying for sure we spoke on that day, on that Saturday. It's just in general, we always talk on the phone. And notice this again. She does not want to get drawn into specifics of this weekend, the weekend the murders happened. So she goes right back and she talks in general. We always talk on the phone. And honestly again, I mean, Mark asked me that the other day. Interesting. I will talk about this in a second. What she has there is breadcrumbs. She's throwing out all sorts of breadcrumbs. So she talks about the babysitter again. So this is the day that he had the babysitter. He had the babysitter. Then also Mark asked me that the other day. Real breadcrumbs there. Do you have your dates right? You know, like, so she really is offering things to talk about here. Mark asked you that before. Tell me more about the babysitter. Do you have your dates right? She's throwing out breadcrumbs, potential bits of conversation that could be had by the detectives that they pick up on any of these things that she says, rather than talk about what happened between her and Chris on this weekend that the murders happened. So she really is throwing it all there. He's like, how long are you on the phone? So this is Mark. He's like, how long are you on the phone? 50 minutes, 20 minutes? Like, you're going to have to look at the records, to be honest with you. Like, so much. And this so much is how much they spoke on the phone. But this is just, again, in general, it's lots of, look, hey, we talk on the phone lots. Why don't we talk about that? How long were your phone calls? Who called who? All that sort of stuff. So when she's asked, the very initial question at the very beginning of that was, did you guys talk on Sunday? And her answer is anything but. What the fact they spoke on Sunday, first of all, but what they spoke about on Sunday, she really wants to avoid that. So just in that first very quick answer we looked at there, she wants to control the conversation. I ain't talking about that. I'm going to talk about this. I'm still talking about this. And then here's all sorts of other things that you can talk about apart from the thing that I don't want to talk about. And she does not want to elaborate on those phone calls. Let's get some more from Nichol and the police.
Withstanding that today, because those thoughts may have changed for you, but on, let's go Sunday into Monday or Monday, did you still love him on those days?
I think it was something where it was like I said it a few times and I meant it, But he definitely felt the urge to say it to me a lot more than I did to him, because it was just all very new to me, and it was like, take your time with this. Like, you don't need to like rush that, you know? Like, I remember when he was in North Carolina and he was like trying to patch things up with his wife, and he told me he loved me, and I was like, don't say that to me. Like, please go try to fit. And I mean, and that might even be in the text too, where it's like, don't say those words to me and then go try to make peace with your wife and lay in bed with another woman. Like, just don't do that. And I was like, it's not that I don't appreciate what you're saying to me. It's like, it just didn't sit right for me, you know.
So once again, we have a non-answer from Nichol. She is asked, Sunday into Monday or Monday, did you still love him on those days? Did you still love Chris, that is, on those days? So she's asked, did you love Chris on Sunday into Monday or Monday? And she does not answer the question. Listen to what she says, because when you only look at the words that are said, it becomes really clear the avoidance that's going on. Did you still love him in those days? I think it was something where it was like, I said it a few times and I meant it, but he definitely felt the urge to say it a lot more than I did to him, because it was just all very new to me. And I was like, take your time with this. Like, you don't need to like rush that, you know? Like, I remember when he was in North Carolina and he was like trying to patch things up with his wife, and he told me he loved me. And I was like, don't say that to me. So she does not answer the question. And it's a fairly easy truth. Did you still love him in those days? Yeah, I did. I loved him, and I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. Would be a fair answer. No, I detested him for what he did. I just could not believe the guy would do that. Any feelings I had for him walked out the door on those days. But for some reason, she doesn't want to answer the question. She's not asked, did Chris say it to you? She's not asked about that at all. But the bulk of that first part of the answer is all about how often Chris said, I love you to her, and not how often she said it to him. So it is like just a really, really strange and avoidant answer at all. She also talks about Shanann, but she talks about his wife. Now, she's just been killed 3 days prior to this interview, and she shows no respect for the woman whatsoever. It's just the label, his wife, that's given to her. I didn't like that at all. It's disrespectful there to refer to Shanann as his wife and not to call her Shanann. Look, many years on, I'm calling her Shanann because I've got some respect for the woman, and I want to show that respect. But she's got all this casual air going on and just calling her his wife. It's a lack of empathy that's going on there at all. It's just a fairly easy truth. Did you love him? Yes, no. Why did she avoid that? She carries on, like, please go try to fit. And I mean, and that might even be in the text too, where it's like, don't say those words to me and then go try to make peace with your wife and lay in bed with another woman. So much in that there. So please go, again, it's stuttery, like, please go and try and fit. And I mean, that might even be in the text too. Now, that might even be in the text too. She doesn't say it's definitely in the text. So I think what she's alluding to there is, look, this is verifiable. This is in text messages. So you could go and check this and see that I am telling you the truth. But it's not. Check the text messages because it's definitely in there. It's just that might even be in the text too. And then do you see the language of control? This time, it's not her controlling the interview and telling the detectives what it is that she wants to talk about. This is her control over Chris. It's like, don't say those words to me. So that suggests to me that she felt like she had the ability to control Chris, to tell Chris what to say or tell Chris what not to say. It's like, don't say those words to me. And then go and try and make peace with your wife. So we've got, again, a reference to Shanann by a label, Chrissy's wife, and not as a person, a recently murdered person. It's just this label of Chrissy's wife, your wife. And then lay in bed with another woman. Interesting here that we have the concept of Shanann being the other woman in traditional language, then with Chris being married to Shanann and Nichol being someone that Chris was having an affair with, then Nichol would be the other woman. It's not a term I really would use now. It's a very old-fashioned dated term, but she does refer to Shanann as another woman. And again, that's Shanann she's talking about, another woman, not lay in bed with even your wife would, nothing wrong with the guy laying in bed with his wife, but she almost is acting like she is the one being cheated on here. I guess relationships are very complex, and that's how she could feel in this situation. But again, it is just more disrespect, lack of empathy towards the recently murdered Shanann. Like, don't do that. And I was like, it's not that I don't appreciate what you're saying to me. It's just like, it just didn't sit right for me, you know. So again, got the language that here that she is the person in control in this conversation. Like, don't do that. It's not I don't appreciate what you're saying to me. It's just like, it just didn't sit right for me, you know. So it didn't sit right for her. So she told Chris, stop, don't do it. Just that language of control. What I think we have here is a desire shown through there that she wanted Chris and Shanann to split up, because she is telling Chris very clear terms in her words there what it is that she wants. And so in that answer, look, she avoids the love question. Why not just give a very simple factual answer to that question? Why go around with all the stories and talk about Chris saying it when she wasn't asked about Chris saying it? Avoidance again from Nichol. And she wants to keep the casual image of the relationship going. Oh yeah, I didn't say it that much. She said it to me and I wasn't that much into it. But there is disregard for Shanann and Chrissy's relationship there. Let's get some more from Nichol and the police.
So anything important that you recall during that conversation about the children, about his wife, about what he was doing the next day, what he had planned, anything like that? Did he tell you any of that information?
I remember he told me he had to go to the field and not to the office on Monday morning.
Okay. Did he specifically say where he needed to go on Monday morning?
No, I don't ask him for those sites. There's like, Anadarko's got like thousands of sites. If he were to tell me, I wouldn't even
They're
know.
just like random numbers and stuff, right?
Well, he told me, he said, I got to go to a site. I got to go check out like a valve or something where they think that they had a release. Something like that.
Did he mention the town or anywhere?
No. He just told me that that's what he had to go do. He's
Okay.
like, he was like, I won't see you in the office in the morning. Because I see him, but I don't actually like talk to him. Like I will go in the cafeteria, I will put my lunch in the fridge, and him and his whole team are sitting in there, and I don't talk to any of them. I just walk out. But anyways, yeah, he's like, so I won't see you, I'm going to the field, which is not an uncommon thing for the ops guys to like just go straight to the field. Like it happens. Like typically they go to the office, I would say like 3 or 4 days a week, but there are days where him and his other team members are not there. Or like I'll get in there and some days the cafeteria is packed and they're all there.
Okay.
And other days I get in there and there's only like 3 or 4 of them.
Please, please, please tell me you are screaming out right now, more avoidance, Jack, because yeah, that's what we've got there. It's a question that is pivotal to the whole story and a murder investigation that is going on, and she seems to not want to engage whatsoever in that, but tell some fanciful stories in general. She has asked, is there any important information that you recall during that conversation about the children, about his wife, about what he was doing the next day, what he had planned, anything like that? Did he tell you any of that information? Now, you heard the answer. It's all about the workplace. So anything important you recall during that conversation about the children? She doesn't mention the children once. About his wife, she doesn't mention the wife once. Interesting that you could look at that and go, well, she's asked about the children and the wife, and she talks about where he's going the next day. We all know what happened then, but she certainly doesn't take on the children and the wife there. About what he was doing the next day, what he had planned, anything like that. Well, that's kind of what she talks about, but then gives us so much more. Her answer to that is, I remember he told me he had to go to the field and not to the office on Monday morning. So there is no yes or no there. So any information that you recall that might be important, yeah, I remember he told me he had to go to the field and not the office. Or no, I don't remember him mentioning anything important about his wife or the kids at all. No yes or no there to that yes, no question. But I remember he told me he had to go to the field and not to the office on Monday morning. She starts that with, I remember. Now, if she had just said, he told me he had to go to the field and not to the office on Monday morning, the meaning would be the exact same. But she has flagged it and qualified it by saying, I remember. That opens the door to me that she's potentially saying there are things we spoke about that I'm going to claim I don't remember. There are things going on that if it's brought up to me, why did you not mention that? I'll say, I didn't remember. I told you what I remembered. I said, I remember he told me this, but it's curious that she has to flag that this is what I remember. Opens the door to me that there is more that she's conscious of, but she's claiming that she can't remember it. Okay, did he specifically say where he needed to go on Monday morning? And then we have a no. So the first time she's asked the question, we didn't get a yes or no, but she starts off there with no. Did he specifically say where he needed to go on Monday morning? No. That was all that is taken to answer that question, the word no. Or something like, no, he didn't. But she goes extra. I think this again is avoidance extra. I'm going to talk about some things that I'm comfortable with, that are factual, that are not things I have to make up or anything like that. I'm just going to go extra because the longer I can go extra talking about things that comfort me, the less time I have to spend answering questions that stress me. So no. And then the extra thing is I don't ask him for those sites. Like Andarko's got like thousands of sites. If he were to tell me, I wouldn't even know. Irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant. She's gone wide in general. You are being asked a question in a murder inquiry, and instead of giving helpful, truthful, straightforward answers, we're getting storytelling and general answers. No, I don't ask him for those sites. I didn't ask him for the site that he was going to on the Monday morning. She's gone really general. I don't ask him for those sites. So she's not actually even talking about that Monday morning. Did he specifically say where he needed to go to on Monday morning? She says no, and it's I don't ask him for those sites. There's like Anadarko's got like thousands of sites. If he were to tell me, I wouldn't even know. The detective says they're just like random numbers and stuff, right? Well, he told me, he said, I got to go to a site. I got to go check out like a valve or something where they think they had to release something like that. So again, lots of words about the job. But yeah, really nothing very helpful there. Did he mention a town or anywhere? No, she says. So we do get a no again. So that would be like what is needed to answer the question. We get two no's though. No. Emphatic. Maybe that's trying just a little bit too hard to persuade us that no, she didn't know where Chris was going. He just told me that's what he had to go do. He just told me that's what he had to go do. So just is minimizing this down. Don't focus on anything else we spoke about. Don't focus on these things I'm claiming not to remember. Let's just go on this. He just told me that's what he had to go do. He's like, yeah. He was like, I won't see you in the office in the morning because I usually see him, but I don't actually like talk to him. Like, I will go to the cafeteria, I will put my lunch in the fridge, and him and his whole team are just sitting out there, and I don't talk to any of them. I just walk out. So she's just gone really broad and wide again and tells us what usually happens. She's not talking about this specific and really, really important thing the Monday morning after he had killed his wife and kids. But instead, she's talking about what usually happens. I usually see him, but I don't usually talk to him. I go to the cafeteria, I put my lunch in the fridge, and him and his whole team are just sitting there. So again, it's not even just Chris she's talking about, it's the whole team here. I don't talk to any of them. She doesn't say there, she doesn't talk to Chris. I don't talk to any of them. I just walk out. But anyways, yeah, like, so I won't see you. I'm going to the field, which is not an uncommon thing for the ops guys to do, like just to go straight to the field, like it happens. Like typically they go to the office, I would say like 3 or 4 times a week, but there are days when him and his other team members are not there. Or like I'll get in there and some days the cafeteria is packed and they're all there. And other days I get in and then there's like only 3 or 4 of them. Blimey. How to unpack all of that? Well, what I'm going to say is look at how general it is. First of all, how she talks about what normally happens because it's normal. So it's not uncommon for the ops guys to like go straight out to the field. Typically they go to the office, but 3 or 4 days a week, then these things happen where him and his other team members are not there. Some days the cafeteria is packed. Other days there's hardly any of them in there. She's just talking in this wide general sense. Nichol, this is a murder inquiry where you may have vital information. So why are you telling us about what normally happens rather than the things that happened around this specific day? Then we also have the fact she's not talking about Chris anymore. You'll notice she's made a very subtle change where she was talking about Chris and now it's just his team. So it's not an uncommon thing for the ops guys to do. Typically, they go to the office, but there are days where him and his other team members are not there. Some days the cafeteria is packed and they're all there. Other days there's just 3 or 4 of them. So this is just an off-ramp from the question. Did he mention anything about his kids? Did he mention anything about his wife? Did he mention anything about his plans? And the answer is very, very, very wordy. However, it's all about what happens in general, and it's all about what usually happens. So in this part, she is really limited in what she said. She's asked a crucial question in a murder investigation, and her answer is anything but satisfying. Coming up, Nichol shares with the police her theory on why Chris killed his wife. Do you ever feel like you're not being told the full story? Well, you're right. We're seeing it in action here, and it's happening to us all the time in life as well. So I'm here to giving you the key to seeing deeper and hearing the world with new ears. I'm on a mission to share this skill with as many people as possible. So if you want to unlock the secret, subscribe to this channel, follow, and then delve into the archives, because there are a treasure trove of cases waiting to be explored. Or do you know someone who needs this skill, someone who deserves to hear the truth? Well, if you hit the like button, that helps this get out to more people. Or share it with them, recommend it to people, pass it on. Because every single click, every like, every share fuels the fire. It allows me to dig deeper, to analyze further, and bring this life-changing skill to even more people. I regularly hear from grateful audience members who've navigated tricky life situations using the listening skills they have learned on this channel. So your like, your share, your recommendation could help someone like that. It's a great gift to give. So please, please do pass it on. Let's get back into that police investigation now.
Yeah, so anyways, Chris was like, call me.
And this is the 345 text.
Yeah, he sent me like a few. I think there was 3 of them, and I don't remember what the other one said, but something about like, yeah, my family's gone, or I don't remember verbatim, but call me when you can, or call me when you have a chance, something to that effect. And so when he told me call me, I was like kind of alerted, where I was like, okay, what's going on, you know? But first when he told me like his family was like not home, that didn't really seem odd to me, that his family wasn't home. It was really vague. I'm like, okay, like, are they at the grocery store? Like, elaborate. And so, you know, and then, but he says, call me like it's like an emergency, but then just says that they're not there. And so I'm like really like floored by that. Well, not like floored, but just kind of like, he says, call me, so I'm concerned. And then he's really vague, so I'm like, maybe he just wants to talk to me? I don't know. I think it took me a little while to like really process the severity of the situation, just because this is not something that you expect to see every day, and the way that he talked to me made me believe that this is not what was going on at all.
Okay.
So Nichol talking to the detectives there about Chris informing her that his family were missing. She says, so anyways, Chris was like, call me. She's asked, this is the 345 text. She says, yeah, he sent me like a few. I think there were 3 of them. Interesting, she's picked 3 as the number there. 3 texts. 3 is known as the liar's number. You'll find it very often in deception when someone makes up a story, all sorts of reasons for why that could be. But if someone tells you there were 3 men, or it happened 3 times, or there were 3 text messages, look, I'm not saying it is a lie, but the number of times the number 3 turns up in deception is quite scary. So were there 3 texts? She says, I don't remember what the other one said, but something about, yeah, my family's gone. I don't remember verbatim. So once more, have we got this memory qualification going on with Nichol, where she's only telling us what she remembers? In other words, she's sitting at her stall and saying, I remember these things. And when you tell people what you remember, you're opening that door for there are things that I don't remember. And do you really not remember them? Or is it convenient that you cannot remember these things? But anyway, we had this text about my family's gone. I don't know. My family has never gone in that way, so I don't know what wording I would use. But my family's gone. If this was a real emergency, if he was really worried, yeah, he might use my family's gone. But would there be other wording around there? I'm really concerned. I'm frightened out of my wits. My family's gone. But she says, I don't remember verbatim. But call me when you can, or call me when you have a chance, something to that effect. And so when he told me, call me, I was like kind of alerted, where I was like, okay, what's going on, you know? Now, the mention of call me. So anyway, Chris was like, call me. I don't remember verbatim, but call me when you can, or call me when you have a chance. And so when he told me call me, I was like kind of alerted. So I do think the word call me was in there. As much as she's going, I don't remember verbatim, the phrase call me is always inside that message. So I believe call me was there. The other stuff around it, not so sure. Call me though, that was there. And she says, I was like kind of alerted. I was like, okay, what's going on, you know? Well, of course you were alerted because my family's gone, call me. Especially from someone you're having an affair with, that is something that you are probably going to be alerted about and potentially make that call very quick. That will become important as she goes. But first he told me like his family was like not home. And that didn't really seem odd to me that his family wasn't at home. It was really vague. I'm like, okay, are they at the grocery store? And she's making a joke about it. Does that seem like how a conversation would go with you? My family's gone. If you were vague, if you felt like you weren't getting the full story, what do you mean my family's gone? Why have you asked me to call when your family's gone? What's going on? Was there. But it didn't really seem odd to me his family wasn't at home. Strange. That is all very strange wording. It just doesn't hang together. She was kind of alerted, but then she's saying it didn't feel odd. So if you were alert, you'd be on heightened awareness. My family's not home. All right, why have I to be alerted about this? Why have I got to call instead of going, alert, I'm calling you. My family's not home. That didn't seem really odd to me. I was like, are they at the grocery store? Like, elaborate. So she does ask for more. And so, you know, but he says, call me like it's like an emergency. And he says, they're not here. And so I'm like really like floored by that. Whoa, which is it? Is it not odd? Is it an emergency? Were you kind of alerted? Or were you floored by it? We don't have a smooth progression of emotions through this story, which I think she intends to be. He said, call me, my family's not at home. Now, at first I didn't think very much of that, but when he told me what had really happened, I was floored by that. We don't have that linear growing of any worry or anything like that. I'm like floored by that. So I don't believe we're getting a true representation of Nichole's emotions through what she says there. And by the way, once she tells us she was floored, well, not like floored, but just kind of like he says, call me, so I'm concerned. So has she called him? Has she not? Because she's not very clear about what's happened here. She's not clear whether some of this is on text and some of this is on phone call. And I'm interested as to why she was on alert and she's floored by that. But then she keeps pulling back from it. She keeps saying that I was on alert and it was like, I didn't think it was odd. I was floored by that. Well, not like floored, just kind of like he says, call me, so I'm concerned. Well, what are you? Floored, on alert, concerned. So many things flying through here, but it's not this linear progression of emotions, of information adding to the emotions and changing the emotions at all. It's kind of all over the place, as if she's taken everything that's happened, bundled it all up together, put it in a bag and pulled out some random words and emotions and tried to make them all fit. So I'm concerned. And then he's really vague. So I'm like, maybe he just wants to talk to me. Well, wait a minute, you were floored? Not floored? Concerned? Oh, maybe he just wants to talk to me. I think it took me a little while to like really process the severity of the situation. So now we are into the severity of the situation. But wait a minute, you were floored and you were alert. Process the severity of the situation. Just because this is not something that you expect to see every day. And the way he talked to me made me believe that this was not what was going on at all. I don't really understand very much of that, Nichol, if I'm being honest, but what I want to know is why you said this is not something that you expect to see every day. This is on the phone. Here, every day would be appropriate there. Happen every day would also be appropriate there. But see, why are you talking about seeing what happened here? Why are you talking about seeing this happen? It concerns me quite a bit there. So in that description of what happened there, Nichol says that Chris was really vague, but she is no clearer in her answer here. Who was the vaguest there, Chris or Nichol? Certainly, I do think that call me was said because that is repeated all the way there. But really, can you tell me the order the communication happened on that day? What was that progression of communication and so on that followed up with that? It's not very clear. Sometimes, often when things are not very clear, when you can't get a clear picture in your head built on the words that someone said, that's because they're not using authentic language. That's because they're not relating an experience that they have lived to you. In other words, they are constructing something in their head. They don't have the authentic language to match actions and feelings. And that's when we get something that is all a bit fuzzy and vague like this. Here's some more from Nichol and the police.
If there's a thought that you have that might lead us to understand a little bit why he might have done something like this, like I said, I met Chris on Wednesday, so I don't know Chris, not like you do.
I've thought about this, and sometimes I think to myself, if I wasn't in that man's life, would his family still be alive? And I've thought about this a lot, and I think I could give myself different responses. But in all honesty, I think they might be alive, but not permanently. I do not think that this man just snapped. I don't think that he just met some fucking amazing woman and he was just gonna try to fucking murder his family and then think that I was okay with, like, building a relationship with somebody who did something like that. Like, at what fucking point, you know? And not only that, like, I always try to say, you know, like, when we get to a point where we've been together long enough, I would love to meet your children. Like, I never discluded them from anything.
I got a real change in Nichol in this answer. I said in the first breakdown of Nichol, I didn't see any anger, revulsion, or emotion. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to see that there. And this is in her words, because all I'm doing here is looking at her words, and her words take a turn here, and I'll show you how. But you may have noticed an increase in swearing. I think there was a couple of shits and bullshits in the first part of the interview we looked at. As it's progressing now, we've got a hell of a lot of F word going on there. So much so, I'm going to have to give this episode an explicit tag. So she is asked, if there's a thought that you have that might lead us to understand a little bit why he might have done something like this. Like I said, I don't know. I met Chris on Wednesday, so I don't know Chris, not like you do. And she says, I've thought about this. And sometimes I think to myself, if I wasn't in that man's life, would his family still be alive? Now, remember, she referred to Shanann in sort of derogatory, distant, dislike terms. Well, that's what we've got here for Chris. It's not if I wasn't in Chrissy's life, would his family still be alive? It's that man. Now, look, you call me Jack if you knew me, Mr. Fox if you're being formal. If you call me that man, you wouldn't have a lot of respect for the things that I've done or maybe the things that I've said. It's that man there. So she is showing disregard, disdain, dislike there for Chris, which is as it should be. And she's letting herself explain her thought process here. She's letting us into her head. That is normally a hallmark of someone who is truthful. So sometimes I think to myself, if I wasn't in that man's life, would his family still be alive? And I've thought about this a lot, and I think I could give myself different responses. But in all honesty, I think they might be alive, but not permanently. So I've got that in all honesty flagged up again there. However, this is a very sensitive thing that she's saying. She is saying if I wasn't around, they might still be alive. That's a very big thing for her to say. It's a huge tone shift from all this avoidance that was going on and all this don't come close to me, don't ask me about these things. She is now dealing, bang, with the crux of the matter. I think they might be alive, but not permanently. I do not think this man just snapped. So again, we've got that dislike and disgust, I think, shown for Chris there with this man. I do not think this man just snapped. Again, it's not I do not think he just snapped or I do not think Chris just snapped. It's this man. I don't think that he just met some fucking amazing woman and he was going to try to fucking murder his family. Now, number one, you might be watching that and going, oh yeah, very big-headed, very egotistic, describing herself as an amazing woman. She doesn't. She's got some distance there. She doesn't say, met me, an amazing woman, or did not meet me and I'm an amazing woman. None of that. She's not in the amazing woman description at all. It's just some amazing woman is what she says. So that could have been very egotistic. You may still think it is egotistic, but the words, she's pulled herself right out there of being an amazing woman. And he was going to try and murder his family. We have the word murder there. Going to try and fucking murder his family. So again, she did this in the first episode. She's not pulling away and minimizing what went on there. And it's not like turning the severity down. So it's not like doing this to his family or doing that to his family or hurting his family at all. It's murder. which is a very vivid and very close to the truth word there. Did not murder his family. And then think that I was okay, like building a relationship with somebody who did something like that. Now, something like that is downplaying. That's exactly what I mean, that most people will do. But she has mentioned murder before. So she's introduced the concept of murder with the word murder. So it's less worrisome that she downplays it with something like that later on, because we've got the concept of murder from her. That she's talking about it. And again, this bit here is really interesting. It's like building a relationship with someone who did something like that. She's saying there, although she doesn't say it explicitly, she's saying there, did he think that he could murder his family and then I'd be all right with this person and we'd carry on building a relationship? The only thing there is she doesn't mention Chris again, just like she doesn't mention herself as this amazing woman. She doesn't mention Chris as the murderer. It's just somebody who did something like that. She carries on. Like, at what fucking point, And not only that, like, I was always trying to say, like, when we've got to a point where we've been together long enough, I would love to meet your children. Like, I never excluded them from anything. I think she means excluded, but I'm absolutely fine with the odd misspeak. So when she really does go very close to talking about what happened. She does not pull and shy away from any of that, which makes me think that is very interesting. It's very different from where she's been elsewhere. And it does show disgust for Chris there in her words. But also, we have that little bit of image building back with Nichol again. So once she said how much she doesn't like Chris and what Chris has done, she wants to talk about herself and say, yeah, kids, I was always on about the kids. I was always never excluded them from anything. So she's got a bit of an image building off ramp there. But yeah, a real change in tone from Nichol. Let's get some more from her.
Like, despite how messy this is and how I'm sure I'm going to be portrayed in the media and everything, like, I care about, like, his well-being with his children and all of that. And so, for me, like, when I think of what was he going through his head, I find it really hard to believe that I am the catalyst for all of this. I will be willing to say that I think me being in his life accelerated what was inevitably about to happen. But I don't think people just snap. Love does not murder. Hate and resentment murder. That's the way I look at that. I do not know what is the truth anymore and what's not, and I don't have all of the details. But this is just my opinion, but I'm pretty convinced that woman and him did not get along very well. And the reason they stuck together was, hey, we're going to do kids. And I think they also stuck together because they were in a very bad financial bind. And I think that she continuously disregarded it. And I think he messed up because he was too passive to say anything to her about it and really address it. And it just got to the point where it's just like you file bankruptcy and then what do? Just wait till you file the next one?
Oh, just when I was starting to give her some benefit of the doubt, she says a few things I didn't like in that answer. She says, despite how messy this is and how I'm sure I'm going to be portrayed in the media. So here we go. I have said all the way through looking at Nichol, image was very important to her. It was very important to her how she was seen by other people. And there it is. She is saying, as a priority in her head, she is thinking about how she is going to be portrayed in the media. She's very, very sensitive to how people are going to see her. And everything I care about his well-being with the children and all of that. And so for me, when I think of what he was going through in his head, I find it really hard to believe that I am the catalyst for all of this. I will be willing to say that I think me being in his life accelerated what was inevitably about to happen, but I don't think people just snap. Let's break that bit down. I find it really hard to believe that I am the catalyst for all this. Hard to believe, but she's not discounting that she is the catalyst for all of this. She's not saying, I'm not the catalyst for all this, or, this is not down to me. She's saying, I find it hard to believe that I am the catalyst for all this. And you notice the question way, way far back was, do you have any indication as to why this happened? And her answer is centered around herself until she goes on to talk about the money thing. I will be willing to say that I think me being in life accelerated what was inevitably about to happen. I will be willing to say, she doesn't need to say any of that for it to make the same thing. It could just be, I think me being in his life accelerated what was inevitably about to happen. But it's I will be willing to say. Again, that's maybe not an indication of guilt or anything like that. It's just her saying, this is what I am willing to say. But it's interesting that she says it like that. I'd be willing to say that. but not anything else. Not to go any further than that. Accelerated what was inevitably about to happen, but I don't think people just snap. Now, does she have an inkling in there that there was an inevitability in there, or has she just broken it all down since it happened and gone, yeah, this was always going to happen, wasn't it? Or this is what I feared would happen. I don't know. I don't know from that, but she does seem to think that there was an inevitability that this was going to happen. Could be two reasons why she came to that. She says, I don't think people just snap. She's not talking about Chris again. She's gone general. I don't think Chris just snapped. She doesn't say that at all. So she's talking about people in general. Then we get some beautiful stuff that could go on a poster and a positive thinking Instagram. Love does not murder. Hate and resentment murder. That's the way I look at that. However, she uses the word murder twice. No downplaying of what happened to Shanann, Bella and Celeste here at all. She talks about them being murdered. And then she says, I do not know the truth. What is the truth anymore? An interesting concept, especially for someone who has been using honestly quite a lot. And to be honest with you, and also talking in very qualified terms, sometimes very distant terms when being asked a very close question. I do not know what is the truth anymore. But that is kind of letting us in on her thought process and what's not. And I don't have all of the details, but this is just like my opinion. I'm pretty convinced that that woman and him did not get along very well. So here again, we have that dislike, that disdain shown in language for Shanann, referring to her as that woman. It's really putting someone down when you talk about that woman. This is someone who was murdered 3 days ago. You've just accepted that you could have been responsible for the acceleration, if not the actual happening, but the fact that that woman is dead today. And you call her that woman, not Shanann. That woman and him did not get along very well. So we've got, again, the dislike him. It's not Chris. Did not get along very well. And the reason they stuck together was, hey, we're going to do kids. And I think they also stuck together because they were in a very bad financial bind. And I think that she continuously disregarded it. So this is more talking ill of the dead, really. In polite society, we tend not to talk ill of the dead. And there are ways you could word that. But I think she continuously disregarded it, is talking ill of the dead. I don't think she realized how important it was, or I don't think she ever wanted to face it head on. She continuously disregarded it, is what she says there. And I think he messed up because he was too passive to say anything to her about it and really address it. You see the language of control there again. He messed up because he wasn't in control. So control, being in control, seems important to Nichol. I think he messed up because he was too passive to say anything to her about it and really address it. Twice, she says that they didn't have a conversation there about it. He was too passive to say anything and didn't really address it. Was she driving Chris to have conversations with that woman, Shanann, about the finances? Was she really in control and getting Chris to do things here, or encouraging him to do things? And it just got to the point where it's like, you file bankruptcy and then what do? You just wait till you file the next one. So yeah, she really goes from all sorts of generalities and look, it wasn't me, I didn't know anything, didn't know very much about anything that went on, to saying she really has some deep information there. But I do like the fact that she talks about murder. I think that I find that reassuring there. But it's a real change of gear, this answer. It's much more direct. It's visceral. It's like the lid has come off this image management tool that she's been deploying, where she doesn't want to get too close to herself. She wants to just put the shield up and talk about what usually happens and talk about things in general. It's like that lid has come off, but she shows frustration here and a dislike for Shanann as well there. Let's look at one more bit of Nichol talking to the police.
I don't know. I don't know what their finances look like now, but from the way it made it sound, it's probably a pretty stark situation. And I don't know if hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt over and over and over again are enough to lead a man to want to take somebody out. And I would never justify what he did. I think it's fucking disgusting. It's, he's such a fucking pig. But I try to be why? I try to come up with a why. And I really think that he was struggling with her really bad. And not only that, he's got a third child on the way. And I know he was probably just I can't fucking afford a third kid. Wants it, but can't afford it, And he always told me he wanted a little boy. He wanted a third child. Mm-hmm. And so I think that It was just something like, I think they were in a financial situation, and I think she was very non-responsive to him trying to like solve problems and like get out of the situations that they were in. And I think people just get complacent is what it is. And then, you know, I think he met me, and I think I was like a breath of fresh air for him, where it was like he could get away and just be like, you know what, I can be myself, I don't have to worry about money right now, like, you know. And this girl, like, I have my shit together, like my life is so like very in order.
Well, she thinks highly of herself again. What have I got there? I don't know. I don't know what their finances look like now, but from the way he made it sound, it was probably a Stark situation sound. Again, there's a lot of linking these finances to words from the way he made it sound. Lots of conversations have happened around this. I don't know if hundreds and thousands of dollars in debt over and over again is enough to lead a man to like want to take somebody out, but I don't know. Take somebody out again. That's quite a term for talking about this. It's not downplaying it at all. Take somebody out. Then she says, for me, the most reassuring thing I've heard, and I would never justify what he did. I think it's fucking disgusting. It's, oh, he's such a fucking pig. So there we have dislike for what happened. Dislike for Chris there from Nichol at all. But I just I'd be like, why? I tried to come up with a why, and I really think he was struggling with her pretty bad. So look at this. Whose fault is it there in Nichol's words? He was struggling with her pretty bad. That blames Shanann, doesn't it? He was struggling with her pretty bad. It's not he was struggling pretty bad or he was having a really hard time. He was struggling with her pretty bad. So the blame is not quite so much on Chris, although he's a fucking pig. It feels like that Shanann is someone that she blames, if not for what happened, for the state of the relationship. Not only that, he's got a third child on the way, and I know he was probably just like, I can't fucking afford a third kid. Wants it, but can't afford it, you know? And he was always told me like he wanted a little boy, you know, he wanted a third child. And so I think that was something like, I think they were in a financial situation, and I think she was very non-responsive to him, like trying to solve problems. Non-responsive. Again, this is about talking. Responses are talking there. So she's sensitive to the conversations these two have had around money and problems as well. And she says, I think people just get complacent is what it is. People just get complacent. Not Shanann was complacent or not Chris was complacent. It's just people being complacent. So she's zoned out again. People don't snap. People just get complacent. And then, you know, I think he met me, and I think I was like a breath of fresh air for him. Okay. Where it was like he could get away and just be like, you know, I can be myself. I don't have to worry about money right now, you know? And this girl, like, I have my shit together. Like, my life is so very in order. And there is, again, this sense of control from Nichol there, that her life is in order there. So in that extract there, wow, we've got lots that I did like talking about what he's like and her disdain for him and what he did. But then again, there does seem to be, again, this dislike for Shanann too. But listen, that's me looked at Nichol in that police interview. So what do I think? What do I think? Where do I think she's at? Image is everything to her. She even says it in her words that she's thinking about how the media are going to represent her. Control is so important to Nichol. It's control over her own life, control over the conversation here with the police guys. Also, I think she had control over Chris. Huge disregard for Shanann, talking about her like that woman and so on. The question that is asked, and the reason I think you are here, is did she know what Chris was planning? Was she aware what was going to happen to Shanann and the kids? Well, look, from the words, it's possible. The most reassuring thing was she did not downplay what happened to them. So that would lead me to think that she didn't have any part in it. But I think she may have known that it was coming, maybe just from things that Chris said to her. She is very, very evasive of events and the conversations that happened around about the time of the murder. That's when she employs off-ramps and breadcrumbs and all sorts of talking in general to avoid discussing anything that went on between her and Chris immediately around the time that he murdered Bella, Celeste and Shanann. So Could be image management. It could just be that she doesn't want to go into what was actually going on that weekend, but it could be worse. So did she know about it? From her words there, I do think it is possible. What about you? What do you think? Where do you think Nichol sits on things? I know there are very different views out there. I'm open to hearing all of them. You can get in touch on the socials. You will find them at neveratruerword.com. They're also linked in the episode description here as well. Also on neveratruerword.com, you've got a look at many more cases, some involving police interviews, 911 calls, missing people. Just check out all of that out at neveratruerword.com. And we'll see you soon for something new from Never a Truer Word.